Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the REDX podcast. Thank you all for being here. We are super grateful that you take time out of your busy day to be with us every single Thursday at 1:30. Just a reminder, next Thursday is Thanksgiving, so we'll be pushing our podcast to Friday. You'll see yours truly on there. We're going to talk about our Cyber Monday sales that we have coming up. Some exciting things happening. So just be aware of that change in the schedule next week for the holiday. I am super excited today. We've got Joe Rosen in office with us. Joe, you've been on our podcast a couple of times before, but you're here in the podcast room.
It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. We're excited to have you here. For those of you who want to see Joe's previous podcast, please go to our website, theredx.com/podcast. You can see all of our previous podcasts with all of our amazing guests, including Joe. And we're glad to have you back, Joe, because when you spew wisdom, this is what people want to hear. So thank you for being with us.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. I mean, anything that gets agents from wherever they're at to the next level, that's what awesome. I love to do.
So we're a few weeks out from the end of the year. Q1 is rapidly approaching. What are things that what should people be focused on right now, preparing for their business for 2022?
I love that question because I think that as your year goes on, right, in December, when you're making your goals, you're so excited, you're motivated, you've got it all, and it hits you. You're pumped up. There's nothing slowing you down. But as March rolls around and May rolls around and the summer rolls around, a lot of people lose that fire. They lose that motivation. So I would say the biggest thing is just look at your goals again and see, where am I at? What am I short on? What do I need to do so I hit those goals? Because when you do that in December, when you build those goals in December, you made a commitment to yourself, and it's a huge commitment. It's something you know you want to hit. So don't give up. And for a lot of people, they're going to be behind. So far behind, they know they can't keep up. That's okay. You don't need to catch up. You don't need to hit your goal. What you need to do is take these last, 45 days or whatever it is, and just crush it, right? Finish hard. Even if it's short of your goal, finish hard. Do not give up. And I think the second answer is don't do anything different. You built a plan. It should have been a great plan, and you should just be consistent with that plan. I think that one of the biggest weaknesses with a lot of agents, with our personalities all being pretty similar, we're all going and we all get excitable so easy, is you see that next shiny thing and you go after it. And I think that if you've got something and it's working and you really need the data to see if something's working, a year is a good amount of time to check that data. Just stick with the plan.
So I love the shiny object analogy, right? Yeah. We actually use that in regular conversation here at REDX because it's easy to get distracted, especially when things may not be going as well as you hope, right? Yeah. And it's easy to go, oh, well, I could go make money over here, or I could change my business and go do this. But what do you think for a real estate agent? What do you think the things are that keep them motivated and focused? And we talk a lot about having business plans, and I've done a number of webinars, and we talk about having a plan and setting those annual goals, and then breaking that down into what do I have to do today to be on track. But what are some of the things that you see that work really well that keep people from getting distracted and going, oh, well, here's a cash grab over here, and here's something that I could do? How do we stay focused on what we decided was going to get us business, assuming that's the right thing?
Well, I mean, I can only share with you what we do.
Okay.
I think that now I've got a team. My team is, I think, 8-9 agents we've got. And I've seen people fall through the cracks, and we have all different levels of agents on our team. Some are incredibly motivated, some aren't that motivated at all, and we got everything in the middle, right? Just like I assume every team. Yeah. So we've done a lot of different things. I think that number one, having a consistent sleep schedule is a big thing. It sounds so simple. It sounds like it's one of those cheesy things you say and yeah, whatever. But honestly, it's what literally starts the energy. Like people ask me, how do you have so much energy? It's because I drink a ton of water and I work out every day and I go to bed at the same time and I wake up at the same time and I get a little bit of exercise in and I feel it, man. So if you're going to bed late one night and then early the next night and all that, it's going to throw you off a little bit. So sleep schedule is huge. We've got a 6 a.m. accountability text. The whole team hops on there and you brag about yesterday and you have to do it. So if you don't have a lot to brag about, that's going to be a little painful, right? You only got to feel that pain once.
Those are the ones that come in at 6:05,
yeah,
6:10.
Yeah, or
right?
not at all.
Not
like I'd be like, hey, Jimmy, where's your text? Yeah, so, and I tell the guys it's okay. It's going to happen, right? It happens to me. What you need to commit to is sending the text anyway. It's going to look bad. We're all going to give you a hard time. But then the next day, you're going to have something great to post because you felt so bad today it pushed you. And I can't tell you how many people will tell me, you know, I was sitting there doing whatever and all the texts maybe had come through at 6 o'clock. But then at 11 o'clock, somebody will say, hey, Joe, your text about blah, blah, blah kind of pushed me to do whatever. And they're like, I was sitting there eating my lunch. I've been goofing around for 2 hours. I saw that text and I thought, I got to get back to work. So sometimes it's that little nudge, right? Just putting something in place to give you that nudge. I think it's also important to force 15, 20 minutes a day of something motivational. I love it if it helps, if it's self-help. So I've gotten in the habit of reading books. I try to read at least 10 pages a day. That's incredibly helpful. But I love voice. So for me, while I'm getting ready in the morning, taking my shower and shaving my face, I've got something. Tony Robbins, Tom Ferry, my buddy Ricky, somebody yelling at me something. Yeah. And I've got that sucker on full blare. And yes, the message matters. The message matters a lot. But sometimes what matters just as much is the voice and the energy and the loudness and the excitement and just somebody else saying, I'm being amazing today. Are you being amazing today? And when you feel that, you just feel like you've got to live up to it. So it's like, man, now I've got it. You know, like Tony Robbins, he's a big fan of, and I've totally bought into this, physiology, right? Yeah. Like right now, I'm pretty energetic. I got a lot of fire. Yeah. But if I'm feeling like this and I'm just kind of down and my shoulders are down, literally in a second, I can go, hey, what's going on? Like you can just clap your hands, stand up, shoulders back, put your arms in the air, and you can just immediately, physiology. I'm
suddenly very aware of my posture.
That's good. That's good. But you can do a little bit of physiology too. So I train my guys, hey, before you go into a listing appointment, rolling up to the house, just start yelling something positive in your car, right? Yes, you're crazy. You're going to sound like you're nuts, right? But nobody's in that car with you. Right. And when you get out, your blood pressure will have gone up a little bit. You'll have more in you. You'll have more energy, more excitement. So bringing that excitement into that listing appointment, people are going to, now you don't want to yell in a listing appointment, but there's a difference between, hey, Joe Rosen with EXP, how are you? And hey guys, what's going on? Man, you got a beautiful place here. I love it. Like that's two completely different feelings and they're going to feed off of that. So that's another big part. For us, accountability is huge. So we use Sisu. I don't know if you know what Sisu is, but you basically, it gamifies everything you do. Okay. So your cold calling, door knocking, open houses, expireds you've called, FSBOs you've called, appointments you've gone on, books you've read. Did you go to bed on time? Did you exercise? How much water did you drink? You can go as in-depth as you want on how the point system works. But essentially, at the end of every day, your guys can go in and punch in all the things they did. Hopefully, they're doing it while they're doing it, right? Yeah. That's the goal. And then there's a scoreboard, and it literally appoints different amounts of points to everything you do so you can see where you're at. And then with our cold calling, right, with you guys, you get to pick the slot. Everybody gets 90 minutes, right? And we've got 2 90-minute slots per agent. That's not true. We've got 2 90-minute slots for most of our agents. Okay. And that's no accident. If you have the lowest points on the scoreboard, you pick last. It's like an NFL draft, right? Man. So if you're complaining to me about, Joe, you know, I've got the 8 to 9:30 slot, but I got to drop off my kids. It's just not going to work. Can I change slots? My response is you need to win this month in points. And when next month rolls around, you'll get to pick first. And you can pick any time slot you want, period.
That's cool.
And if you're not going to work hard, then I can't help you, right? You can help yourself. So it gets these guys to make more calls, do the things that gets them more points, and then they can dictate what their times are. So that point system has been huge. And then being able to make competitions out of it. I mean, we've wanted 1 month to focus on, we got a new CRM. Okay, guys, we got to focus on getting all of our people in the CRM. Whoever puts the most amount of people in their CRM that month, they get to go to the best restaurant in town and I pay, right? Nice. This month, it's how many appointments have you met? Whoever meets the most amount of appointments, they get, I think it's a lighting system and a Yeti microphone. Nice. So it's just different things to push them, and it's constantly just coming at them with with little nudges that just keep them in a positive way
Yeah.
motivated if they're not doing it themselves.
So I love this stuff. I love the tactical day-to-day, right? So you talked about sleeping, and man, we've talked a lot with a lot of our guests, and how important the body and the mind are to the toolbox.
Big time.
Right? Like and the consistency in going to bed. My wife and I, we are in bed by 9:30 every night, and I'm awake at 4:30 every morning.
Yes.
And if I go outside of that routine, it's like you said, man, I notice it. I feel it. Yeah, and it's hard. But you talked a lot about accountability. You talked about the physiology, right? And training your body and being really, really focused and really, really, really purposeful. Maybe that's the best word in how you act and feel.
Engaged.
All of these things are so crucial to the daily performance, right? This is how do I kick butt today?
Yep.
Do you notice agents that also have a bigger plan for the year when they go, look, I know that I want to make X amount of money or close X amount of deals, and of those deals, 40% are going to come from my sphere and 20% are going to come from expired. Somebody with a really specific long-term plan. Do you feel like those two things together help those agents thrive more than somebody that goes, well, I want to set goal, I want to make $100,000 this year, and then they don't focus on here's what I got to do today? Do you think that those two are really, really linked?
Well, I think the answer is yes, absolutely. Somebody with a more detailed, specific plan is going to be more successful. And then I think that raises the question, why, right? Okay. So if somebody listening to this hears that, to get them to do it, because that's the goal, right? What we're doing here is to get you guys to do some things that get them to produce. So if you can answer the question why, it'll hopefully promote the motivation. I think the why is if you can see it, if you can feel it, you'll buy into it more and you'll want to do it. If you just do what the team leader Joe says to do, which is how many closings, how many are buy side, how many are list side, how much are you going to make? You're going to do it because Joe told you to do it. Yeah. But if you go in depth, you're now starting to really take it on as this is what I see. This is how I visualize this going. And when you visualize it, I mean, with anything, right? They've talked about, I don't care if you're running the fastest mile ever or if you're going into a wrestling match or you're selling houses. If you visualize it beforehand, even 2-3 minutes, your success rate goes up drastically. It's the same thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So right now, 45 days left. I love how you said, look, don't slow down. Regardless of where you're at in terms of your goal, don't slow down. But a lot of the work that we do right now, these are some of our transactions in January, right? Like what were the appointments we're going on today?
This is Q1.
Yep, this is Q1. So what should people be focused on in terms of activities? What should they be doing on a daily basis? We talked about the accountability. We talked about a lot about mindset, right?
Yes.
What are the actual things in their business you think people need to be focused on right now, the next 45 days through the holiday to make sure that Q1 kicks butt?
So again, I'm a big fan of making your plan in December. So right now I'd really focus on maintaining the plan you've got. But there are 3 things that I would really emphasize. And my gosh, if you don't have a plan, I'd build my plan around these 3 things. Number 1 is prospecting. Okay. And you can have the coolest car in the world. It can go so fast. And it's a Lamborghini and it's got the perfect paint job and whatever. But if you don't have any fuel in the tank, it doesn't really matter.
Did everybody hear that? Prospecting?
Yeah. It's true, though. I mean, It does not matter how good of a negotiator. Here's what I hear all the time. Okay. Joe, I'm such a good agent. I'm so good. If you just put me in front of people, I'm great. Awesome. Yeah, we all are. Yeah, you need to put yourself in front of people. That's the problem, man. So that's the biggest challenge in any agent's job, I guess, the day-to-day is just getting in front of people. So prospecting, right? Of course, I love REDX, and that's part of the reason why I'm here. But there's a million ways to do it. I think REDX is the best if I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a pitch because you can call so many people. We call 141 an hour on average with a triple dialer. I don't know how to get in front of 420, I think it's 423 in 3 hours in any other way. Yeah. I've thrown 200-300 person parties that last 3 hours. I still don't have 423 people there. So I have not, and my gosh, can you imagine maintaining that? Woo! I just haven't figured it out. So when somebody figures it out, I'll move on to that. Until then, you guys figured it out, so you guys are the ones that I love working with. But, are there other things? Yes, you can door knock. You can do open houses. Open houses still work. I would argue they work better now than they ever did. You can go after expire. It's FSBOs, which I know you guys have products for that too. You guys make it really quick and easy to get in front of FSBOs and expireds that have already gone through the ringer of, here, these guys qualified and ready to go. Networking events, Facebook, if it's in conjunction with other things. I think a lot of agents think, go look at 10 agents and 8 or 9 of them are going to post the same thing. Look at my new listing. Look at my new open house. Yeah. Hey, look at me. I'm by a really cool swimming pool. And that doesn't really set you apart.
Yeah.
In fact, I would argue over time, it might make you look lazy.
Okay.
That's what I would think.
Okay.
I think, is this all you got? Like, I'm paying you 5, 6, 7%, and this is what you got? Yeah. You better bring the heat, man. So for me, I like focusing on being educational, on being entertaining. I also like to do a lot of DMing, right? Okay. So if I see people liking my post or commenting, I'm absolutely going to comment back. And I might even send them a voice DM, not a normal DM, and just say, hey, Bob, I saw you commented on my new construction post. I was pretty fired up about that granite, man. I'm usually a quartz guy, but that granite just got me. I loved it. So I appreciate your comment, man. I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're having a great week. Take care, man. And that's it. And if you do that 5, 10 times a day, you just start to connect with people.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think that social media is huge nowadays in every industry, in every relationship. There's value there, but I think in terms of real estate, I think it's supplemental to the other things that we're doing. Right?
Yes.
We still have to make connections, and like you mentioned, expireds and FSBOs are great. The GeoLeads are fantastic for rent. All of those ways, our sphere of influence, networking events, and then the social media is there to help us nurture the relationship, not create the relationship.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So and that's what we found as we've done these podcasts and a lot of our other content is we found that, look, social media, yes, there's absolutely ways to get business.
Yep.
But for most agents, it's going to be supplemental to everything else they're doing. So I'm glad that we're on the same page. So you mentioned obviously our REDX leads, which I appreciate the plug because I sell REDX. I like when people buy it. So here's the question on everybody's mind right now. Does cold calling still work?
Yeah, and I hear it all the time. And the people who say it doesn't work, all you got to do is ask them, how many calls have you made in the last 90 days? And they'll tell you some number like 53 or 72 or 0.
Yeah.
The people who are making 5,000, 10,000 calls know it works. And if you talk to any big team, I'm talking about teams bigger than mine, they've all got ISAs. And those ISAs, it's an inside sales agent. Is that what it is?
Yep.
All those guys are doing is making calls.
Yeah.
And they're hiring those people because they know it works. Yeah. So those people are making the calls. They're scheduling the appointments for their agents. The agents are going on the appointments. So if you don't have that big fancy team, or if you're on a team that doesn't have an ISA, or even if you have a team that does have an ISA, you might need to add to that, supplement that with your own calls, right? So there's no way these massive, successful, intelligent, experienced team leaders are going to invest in people like this if it doesn't work. Yeah. So does it work? Yes. Might that hurt some people listening's feelings because they don't want to cold call? Maybe, but it works.
So what's the challenge then? Like, I'm with you. Cold calling absolutely works. But so here's the question. Somebody who is maybe intimidated by cold calling, which is a really common thing.
Yeah.
What do you think they should be focused on in order to overcome that call reluctance to make sure that they can really utilize cold calling the way that we know that it works?
Yeah. So this probably isn't going to be a very popular statement, but if I remember the failure rate, it's 87% fail out every 5 years. Mm-hmm. Does that mean what I'm about to say? Does it mean if you don't cold call, you're going to be a failure? No, but it's definitely correlational. With my team, I look at cold calling not just as a sales technique, right? It's not just something that's going to put sales in your sales column. It's also something that just gets you better. Okay. It's not just about numbers and how many people can we get in front of, but it's about your conversion ratios. So if I've got a brand new agent, we also do paid leads. If I got a brand new agent, there's no way I'm giving them paid leads until they've done at least 3 months of REDX calls.
Yeah.
Because I'm wasting money on people who I know they can't convert. They don't have the skills, right? So you have to do the cold calls. You have to do the role playing. So many agents aren't doing any of that. And then they're going out and spending hundreds or thousands on Zillow leads just to throw them in the trash. And then they badmouth Zillow leads. It's not the Zillow leads. Yeah, it's the lack of skills, right? Okay. So really, if you have call reluctance, I I would say you either need to go work for somebody else, or you need to just buck up and realize you own a business. You're not an employee. Nobody's coming to save you. And you are going up against trained killers. Like, I am going to crush you if you're not willing to do that. And there's all kinds of Joe Rosens ready to do that.
Yeah,
if you're saying, man, I just don't know if I'm going to walk all over you. So you need to step it up for you.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that with cold calls, it's going to be a tough road. I know that's a little harsh, but I think it's true.
No, and I agree with you. I think that sometimes I think we need a little more harsh reality than maybe we get sometimes, right? I'm going to walk all over you. I mean, I love it, right? Because that's the truth.
In a nice way.
And you're going to do it with a smile and high energy.
I'll do it super kindly, yeah.
But I think that a lot of people get into the industry, right? We always have high hopes. Like, nobody gets into the industry and they're like, well, I'm going to fail in 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, everybody gets into the industry. We expect to perform really, really well. And then we realize that it's probably a little bit harder than we expected.
It is.
That there's this harsh reality that, we've got to learn how to run a business, not just be good in front of people.
Yes.
And I think that that's a big part of the industry where people that do succeed, they change and get to that mindset.
Yes.
They go, look, I'm a business owner, and I've got to learn the skills of a business owner, not just a sales guy.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm totally with you. So how do you set goals? Like, when you're looking at 2020, what does the process look like for you, or some things that you've done in the past to set your own goals? Because one of the big things that we found as we get into discussions with our customers and with our audience, sometimes we often don't know what we don't know, right? And so sometimes when people go, well, I can write the goal down on paper, or but how do I set a realistic goal? How do you set goals that are realistic and meaningful, that really drive you through the year?
So I always take a day off in December, and I go somewhere, whether it's to the beach or a restaurant in the back corner or whatever, and I just bring a pad of paper and a pen. That's it. I already know what my current performance is, right, by the end of December. So the first thing I'm going to look at is my why. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because you can say, hey, I want to make $1 million this year. But if you're not in the mindset to want to do all the things you need to do to compromise to do that, right? Be away from your family, wake up early, go to the gym, make cold calls, do whatever it is, you're just not going to do it. So you've got to have the why, and the why should really push everything.
Yeah.
You've also need a vision of where you're going. I mean, when I first started, I was a single agent. Then I grew into a team. Now we're growing a massive organization that offers different levels of value to people. So the why and really the how is changing often. So I have to sit down, look at my why. I have to be away from everybody. I want to look at last year's performance. I'm competitive. So I want to compete with myself, and I want to get to another milestone. So looking at year one, I've only been in Florida selling real estate for 2 years now. This will be my second full year. So from my first year, I wanted to double it. I mean, we more than doubled it. When I think about doubling what we did this year, next year, that blows my mind. Like, I can't imagine that. Awesome. But I also couldn't imagine it last year, right? And I also think if you build goals that are mentally attainable, it's not that exciting.
Okay.
And you only live once, right? Yeah. So, like, let's go. I'd rather, and they say it all the time, right? Would you rather shoot for $100,000 and make it, or shoot for $1 million and fall short at $900,000?
Yeah.
Like, just let's go.
Yeah.
And so I really want to build some massive goals that would make me smile at the end of the year. And honestly, once you get to a certain point, I really don't think the money matters. It's literally, now I'm falling in love with my team, man.
Yeah.
So it's, how do I help them? How do I support them? How do I give them the things that I know they want and need to succeed? Or organization, how do we add value to them? And I just want to push myself. And I want to think too, like, the more I grow, the more I want to give. So I want to give to community. I want to give to charity. I want to give to different things. So really, I'm just sitting down and I'm writing all of it out, and I'm going to make it as numeric as possible, as objective.
Yeah.
And everything gets a deadline, right? And have you read? I think it's called EOS Traction.
No.
So the book, I'm not going to go too deep, but one of the big parts of it is talking about rocks.
Okay.
And it says your rocks are kind of those, if you ever read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, okay. And they've gotten there the quadrant, right? Yeah. And is it important? Is it not important? Does it have a deadline? Does it not have a deadline, right? And the things that are really important to our business, but they don't have a deadline, we so often don't do, right?
Yeah. Amen.
We talk about doing it. It would help us a lot, but we just don't do it.
Yeah.
So those are essentially your rocks, the big projects that you want to get done, but you can't get them done today. It's too much. So you need about 3 to 7, according to this book. And I bought into it, man. 3 to 7 a quarter. And then you just attack those little by little every day, right? So maybe each one lasts, I'd have to do the math here, but 3, 4, 5 weeks. And you just nugget away at it, right? Yeah. So really it's taking all those rocks that you want to complete throughout the year, putting them on a piece of paper. If I know I'm doing 3 to 7, that's 5 roughly, times 4 quarters, that's 20. Write out your top 20 rocks. What do you want to accomplish? Do you want the most beautiful listing presentation ever? Do you want some magnificent buyer's packet that you're going to hand out every time? Do you want some checklist or system that's going to help you? Whatever it is, put it in your rocks, break it down by quarter, and then you've got it all laid out. And then, like you said, you can break it down into what do I need to do today.
And that was my next question is with each of those, right? If you've got this 3 or 4 or 5 week task, do you set time in your calendar every day or every week to say, okay, right now I'm focused on this rock and this is time dedicated to that? Or is it more when I have time that I'm not working on money-making activities, then I'm just focused on the next rock? Is that, what do you do?
Yeah, I'll tell you, if I say when I'm not doing money-making activities, I'll do the rock, I'll never do the rock.
Yes, and that was my concern is, we do that with prospecting, right? Yeah. If we don't put it on the calendar, we go, well, I'm going to go grab a cup of coffee and I'll make a contact at Starbucks instead of pick up the phone and make 30 contacts, right?
So for me, and I think we got off from this earlier, I was talking about the 3 big things, right? One is prospecting. Another one is follow-up. And the more you fill up your CRM, the more follow-up you're going to have. And the other one is creating your schedule the day before, right? So for me, looking at those rocks, some of the musts in my schedule is sharpening my tools. Has to be 15 minutes a day or more. Has to be. So it's either me watching a video or being a part of a video, or sometimes I'll even force training on my calendar that I'm teaching that I maybe am not the best at because I know that it's going to push me to, by that day, be good at it, right?
Okay. Awesome.
So different things to sharpen the tools. I know I'm going to have prospecting time. I know I'm going to have time for my follow-up calls. I know I'm going to have time to create my schedule. And then I'm going to have rock time. And rock time is at least 30 minutes a day. I like an hour, but I'll do 30 minutes a day. And I'm literally looking at my list of rocks and I'm taking the top one and I'm just chipping away at that rock until it's gone. And when it's gone, when rock time pops up tomorrow, I start working on rock number 2.
The next one.
And that's it. But you have to put a little bit of time every day, maybe at least 3 times a week if you can't do every day, to go towards those rocks. Otherwise, you'll never do it.
So I'm with you. It's so crucial to pick those big things. If you don't, you never get outside of just the day-to-day routine, right?
It never changes.
You never work on growing the business, right? You end up just doing the same thing over and over.
And if you're not growing, you're dying. You're dying.
Amen, brother. Any last bits of advice, right? We're looking at 2022. We've talked a little bit about goal setting. We've talked about some of the skills and things needed. Any last words for people that are watching this that are looking at this going, okay, what other bit of information could I use that's going to benefit me in 2022?
Yeah, I'm going to throw it a lot in a little amount of time.
Go.
Again, the big 3, right? You have to prospect. You have to follow up, which means you need a good CRM. You got to create tomorrow's schedule, literally by the minute. Even the fun stuff, your personal time, your meals, your family time, all of it. Just put it down. And I'm telling you, even though it feels like you're putting yourself in a prison, it's what creates your freedom, right? And then another one is, oh man, I'm running out of my mind now. Consistency.
Okay.
Right? So many people will rock it 1 or 2 days out of the week, and then they just drop off. And then they come back and they're really busy on Monday. And then they go to the beach on Tuesday.
Yeah.
you don't have to rock it every day, but you got to meet your minimum standards every day.
Yeah.
Do you even have minimum standards, right? Do you have those objective goals that you hopefully created in December to pull you through the rest of the year? You broke it down by day and I mean, if I go work at McDonald's or I work at Walmart or whatever, my boss is going to say, do these 7 things before you get done for the day. If I don't have those things done, I don't clock out. And if I get them done, then I can go home, right?
Yeah.
Same thing, but you got to create that for yourself. And then the last thing I would push is accountability. It is very I shouldn't say challenging. It's rare to find someone who will hold themselves accountable at all times. Even I won't do it. Mm-hmm. So I've got an accountability buddy, and he's actually my accountability buddy. I'm his accountability buddy. We meet every single Wednesday for a half an hour. For 15 minutes, he grills me. He already knows my goals because I've told him. How are you doing on this one? It's robotic. How are you doing on this one? How are you doing? And I literally tell him the truth. This is how I'm doing. Let me pull out my numbers. And then it switches for the next 15 minutes. If you're rocking it, hey, way to go, man. Great job. If you're not rocking it, then it's, hey, what's going on? Is that a problem with you? Do you need to get rid of this goal? Maybe it's too many goals. Maybe you're being weak. What do you need to do to step it up? But that accountability, you cannot just say, I'm going to do it. You need a team leader, a coach, a broker, a friend, and accountability, somebody who's going to step in and push you to be a better, bigger version of yourself.
That's awesome and amazing advice. Thank you so much. Every time we have you on the podcast, and this is the second time that you and I have done a podcast together, I feel like we could probably go several more hours, right? We could go forever. Great information. Thank you so much. Guys and gals, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be with us. Again, a reminder that next Thursday is Thanksgiving, and because of the holiday, we're going to push our podcast to Friday, and you'll see me on there. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cyber Monday sales that we have coming up, some amazing stuff that will help you provide you the tools that you need to do the things that Joe's talking about next year, and do it at an amazing price. Thank you so much for being with us. Joe, great to have you in office. Great to have you on the podcast. And I'm sure it won't be the last time.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.